Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about shortcodes. If you are not a developer and don't have the software to write code, I'm going to show you in this video how to write a shortcode that can be used on any page or post without any software at all. All right, let's get started. So here on our ideapro.io site, which if you're not familiar with my tutorial videos, I own a company called IdeaPro, and our website is ideapro.com. But ideapro.io is a site that we use for testing and showing, demonstrating things in the tutorials. So in the admin area of the site here, there's plugins, and we're going to show you how to write a plugin that will give you the ability to create a shortcode that can be used on any page. Now, I'm on a Mac, but you can do this on a Mac or a PC. Okay, so since I'm on a Mac, I'm going to use TextEdit. So I'm going to open that up, and now on a Windows PC, you can use Notepad, but I'm going to use TextEdit here. And the one thing on Notepad and on here on TextEdit is you want to make sure that the format is plain text, and you can do that on Notepad too. So we want to make sure that we make that as plain text, which gets rid of our formatting and stuff here on TextEdit, and I believe it kind of does the same thing on Notepad. So now we're in a plain text format. Okay, so we're going to write a little bit of code, and this shouldn't scare you because what I'm going to write you can use on your own example. Okay, so we're going to write a bracket, a greater than sign or less than, whichever way you're looking at it, I guess. That would be the number to the left is less than the number to the right. Okay, so a less than, or a question mark and the letters PHP. Whoops. PHP. Wow, there we go. Okay, then we're going to put a space, and then we're going to do a front slash and a asterisk, which is Shift 8. We're actually going to do 2 of those. We're going to come to a next line and put another asterisk and a space, and then we're going to type in plugin name and a colon. And then after the plugin name, we're going to name it whatever we want to call it. So for this example, I'm going to do AAA for just to put it at the top of our plugins list, because we have a lot of plugins on this site. So AAA is going to be just to throw it up to the top of that plugin list. So we're going to call it plugin example. Then we're going to put another asterisk and a slash. Then we're going to come down 3 or 4 lines, doesn't really matter how many, and we're going to put a question mark and a closed bracket, which is the greater than sign. So at the top we have less than, question mark, PHP. And then we have this little bit of text here, which is in PHP, the slash asterisk is the start of a comment, and the asterisk slash is the end of a comment in PHP. So WordPress looks at this here at the very top and to get the details. Now you can add a lot more details in here. You can say description and just an example. You can write out whatever you want that. It's not important to make the plugin work, but you can put that in there. So we'll leave it in there. Okay, now we're going to save this, and we're just going to save it to our desktop. But we want to make sure that we save it into a new folder. So we're going to open up this desktop here, and we're going to create a new folder. And I'm going to you want to give it a unique name. So I'm going to say AAA- or -example plugin. And I'm going to create that folder. And then I'm going to name the file that we just wrote that information on AAA-example plugin.php. It's really important you name the file the same as the folder name, and you put .php as the extension and not .txt. And then we're going to hit save. Okay. So then we're going to open up Finder on our Mac and navigate to the folder that we just created. I'm sorry, navigate to your desktop where we saved that folder. Let me bring this over here so you can see it. I've got some other plugin or tutorials that I've done here. So we're going to find that folder that we created here, and you can do the same thing on Windows. We're going to right click on it and we're going to compress it as a zip file. So you should be able to do this on a Windows or a Mac. So we're going to compress AAA example plugin. And so there it is, AAA example plugin.zip. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our page here and we're going to go to plugins. We're going to add new plugin and click upload plugin. Choose file, and we're going to go to our desktop. We're going to choose the .zip file that we created, and we're going to hit open. Install now. Activate plugin. All right. So if you've done everything right and you followed this tutorial line by line, you should have plugin activated here. If you've got errors if it pops up and says there was an error activating this plugin, you need to go back and make sure that you do not have a space or a line or anything like that before this first character here, before this first less than character. If you have a space or a line or anything before that, WordPress it's going to throw up an error because it's outputting that space as text. Okay. So now that we have our plugin activated, right here we should have AAA plugin example. Okay. So we can go to plugin editor, and the first one, because we put in AAA in the list or in the name, this is the first one here in our plugin editor that comes up. Now if it didn't, we can come over here to our list, and if you see we have a lot of plugins. We can choose what plugin it is and hit select, and it will open up that file for editing. Now you could possibly have a problem down here that says you need to make this file writable. If you've done it just like I've done it here, you shouldn't have that issue. If you're trying to edit a plugin that's already on your site and it doesn't have an update file button here, that could mean that a permission is not correct on the website to keep you from updating that file. So we're going to go ahead and write a function for the shortcode to give you an example of how it works. So I'm going to say function, and we're going to call this example shortcode for Idea Pro IO. And the reason why I'm writing that out like that is because your function name needs to be unique from any other function on the website. So if you write it specific to your domain, don't add the .com, but if you write it so that it's ideapro.io or MikeSellsProducts.com, Mike Sells Products could be the shortcode. Mike Sells Products, Mike_sells_products_shortcode. So you want to make sure it's unique. You want to make sure that you only use underscores and not hyphens or spaces or anything like that. So it needs to be, no special characters or anything like that. You can use numbers. I wouldn't recommend it. I would use just alphabet, the alphabet. Just general words, but then you can use something as a unique word. You might want to use your first name or something like that, or your last name. More than likely someone's not written a function with your domain or your last name or anything like that in the name of the function. All right. So then right after this, we've got function here, and we've got our name of our function. Then we've got an open and close parentheses. And then here we have an open and close curly brace. Now I'm going to zoom in. So now I've zoomed into the code so you can, or the page, so you can see it a little bit better. So this is our function here. And then right after this last curly bracket, we're going to come down to the next line and we're going to say add shortcode. And we're going to do an open parentheses and a close parentheses and a semicolon. Okay. So then right here in the parentheses, we're going to put 2 single quotes and then a comma and 2 single quotes. Okay. So this first one here is what we want to call our shortcode. And what that is what we want to add to every page or post that we want that shortcode to show up on. So in this one, we're going to use my shortcode. Okay. And in between these second set of single quotes, we're going to come up here and copy our function. So we're going to highlight this. And we're going to right click and copy. And then come down here between these two and paste. So I would copy and paste it to make sure that you get the correct spelling. Make sure you didn't misspell anything, because if you did, your shortcode's not going to work. All right. So then up here, we're going to type the word return and a space, single quotes, 2 single quotes, and a semicolon. And here we're going to put hello to my shortcode. Okay. So then we're going to come down here and we're going to click update file. And it says file updated successfully. Again, if this didn't update successfully, you have a permissions issue in your site. But if you followed this tutorial the way I have and you've uploaded it through the plugins upload, then you shouldn't have a file permission. It should, if the file uploaded properly, that means you have access the right permissions in the plugins directory. So if it uploaded correctly, you should have the ability to update the file. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. If my browser, there we go. My browser wasn't doing that a little while ago. So how far are we here? Let's go in just a little bit, 125. So then we're going to copy my shortcode here. And we're going to come to pages, and we're going to go to homepage. And right here before this, now we're working in WordPress 5 point something. Let's see what it is. Let's actually go to the dashboard, and we are at 5.2.4. So anything after 5, your pages and posts should be a Gutenberg blocks. If they're not, you can do it even in the old classic editor. Let me see if we can do a add new page. Will it let us do add? Let's go to posts. Let's see if it'll let us do a new. Nope, everything is going to be Gutenberg on this one. So anyway, let's go to pages. Let's go to homepage, and we're going to go down to just below this photo here. We're going to click the plus, and then we're going to choose shortcode. If it doesn't show up here in your most used, which probably won't, you can type up here shortcode, start typing shortcode, and it'll pop up. So you hit shortcode, and then here in the shortcode, you're going to do an open and close square brackets. Okay. Then we're going to paste in the name of our shortcode, and we're going to come up here and hit update. So now if we come back to our front page, and this is the area here that we put our new shortcode in, and we do refresh. So now hello to my shortcode shows up. So now we can add that. Let's say we wanted to put that at the bottom of a bunch of pages. Now you could put it all the way at the bottom here and put in the shortcode in the page, or it can be just on specific pages or specific posts that you want to put it on. Okay. In the old classic editor, you would just actually not have to choose shortcode or anything. You could just paste in this open square bracket and close square bracket and the shortcode name, and it'll work. You don't need to go to the code side or anything like that, just right there in the default editor. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our plugin editor, and which opens up to here. And again, if it doesn't, you have to go over and select your plugin. And so in this, we can do multiple things here. For the most part, if you're not a developer, you more than likely don't want to do something other than just basic text, because writing a function, writing code in here could change quite a bit. So what we want to do is we want to say H2. Let's put an H2, put that in there and hit update file. All right, so we come back here and we refresh and come down here, and now hello to my shortcode is now wrapped in an H2 file, which an H2 is a heading file. Now that's important because this gives you the ability to write a shortcode, even if it's one line of text. Maybe it's a quote that you want to put on a bunch of different pages, and every once in a while you want to change that quote. Or maybe you're talking about the, how many years you've been in business, and you put that on 3 or 4 pages. You can write it as a shortcode like this, put it on the page, and then every so often you go, January 1st, you go, oh, we've been in business 1 more year than what we were last year, so I need to go in and change that number, So you could go in, you could write it as a shortcode and just change it in your shortcode in one place, and it'll update across the entire site. So that's the great thing about shortcodes. So the next thing I want to show you is we want to add some text and a photo. Now, it's very good because if you have your about information, right, you want to show who you are and what you do. Maybe it's just you want to do that on one page and you don't want to have to change that page, or maybe you want to put it in multiple pages. So you can do it as a shortcode like this and just update one page. Here we're going to add what's called a variable, and we're going to say content is equal to. Now you can call this anything you want. You could say text is equal to, info is equal to. We're going to say content is equal to, and two single quotes and a semicolon. And we're going to move this, we're going to take this out of here, and we're going to put it up here in our content variable. And then here, we're going to type in return content. So now we have our shortcode, our H2, hello to my shortcode, returned in this content variable. And so we're going to update the file, come back to the front page and refresh, and just to show you that it's still working. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to add, let's say that I want to put my name in there. Okay, so we're going to type out my name. We can update the file. We can come back to our front page and hit refresh. And so now it's got my name. Maybe we want to put about, right? You can come down and hit save or update file and hit refresh. And now we've got about Joshua Herbison, right? So now what we want to do is we want to add an image to it. All right. So we're going to open in a new tab. We're going to open the media library, and we're going to add a new file and select a new file. We're going to go to pictures, and we're going to find a picture here, icons. Let's do this photo here, which is probably going to be a pretty good size photo, but not worried about the size of it too much. There we go. So now we have this photo here, and we're going to come over here and we're going to copy this link, right? So for me, we use a CDN on everything that we do. So cdn.ideapro.com is the CDN that we use for all of our images. But this link here on your site should be your domain if you're not using a CDN. If you are, then it will be your CDN. Whichever the case, we don't care. We want to copy this link here, and we're going to close this. and we're going to come back over to our tab where we're editing our content. We're going to add a new line under here and say content dot equals, and then 2 semicolons and two single quotes and a semicolon. And then we're going to, inside of this single quotes, we're going to add a less than bracket, img space src, the equal sign, 2 double quotes, a space, and then a front slash, and close that. So inside of the src, we're going to paste in this file. Now, this file is going to be very large on our page because it's a very large photo. The idea would be to edit that photo before you upload it so that you have a smaller file. I would say 300 pixels by 200, depending on the orientation of the photo. But I would say 300 to maybe 600 max on a site. So ours is going to be very, very large. And then underneath our photo, underneath this, we're going to say content dot equals 2 single quotes, 2 single quotes and a semicolon. And then we're going to do a less than p and a greater than sign, and then a less than slash p and a greater than sign. Whoops. All right, so now here, what that is, it's a paragraph tag. So now we're going to write a little bit of information about me. So Joshua is a developer and is the owner of Idea Pro LLC. Okay, so now we're going to update this file. And if we've done everything right, it should work without any problems. We're going to refresh this, and we're going to come down and see how large that photo is. It's a really large photo. So, but we do have our about Joshua Herbison, and then underneath this really large photo, we have Joshua is a developer and is the owner of Idea Pro LLC. Okay, so now we're going to go into here and we're going to change the width of our image because it's very, very large. It's huge. It's a very, very large photo. So we're going to come to our image tag here. After this double quote, we're going to put a space and we're going to do width equal to, and some double quotes here, and we're going to say 600 pixels, and we're going to update the file. We're going to come back and we're going to refresh, and now we have an image that is much more to scale of what we needed. We could even go down a little bit more and let's say 400. So we can hit refresh, and now our image is a little bit more to what we would need it to be. All right, so that's how we do a shortcode like that. If your image is not proportioned correctly, if you change the width to 400 or 600 and the width is now correct, but the image is really long, it's still the same height, then you need to find out what that ratio is, and you can set the height. So we can automatically set the height equal to, and let's say 200 pixels. Now, this is going to be wrong, but we're going to update the file and hit refresh and see how it's squished now. You can also use a style which will set the width and height. So if we do style equals, and 2 double quotes here, and we do width and a colon, and then 400 pixels and a semicolon, and then space, height equal auto, semicolon. We got rid of that last double quote here. Then we should, there we go. So your image will work like that too if you add this style with 400 pixels. If it's squished, if it's not squished, then you could just use width is equal to the number of pixels like we did before. If it's squished and it's not loading correctly, then you can use the style, which is a CSS tag. It's an inline CSS. You can use this style tag width, choose the width of the pixels that you want, and height as auto. You can also go into here and use a percentage. So if we do 100% and the percent sign, and we hit update file, and we come back here and refresh, now our image is going to be the full width of the container that the image is in. So now we're at 100%. We can go back in and we can say, yeah, we want it to be 50%. So 50%, update the file, come back here and do a refresh, and now it's 50% of the page. And if we change the size of the page, we grab the corner and we change the size of the page, the image will change the size. All right. So depending on the content that you're working with, you can change the size of the image based on the width that you want. Hope that gives you an idea of how to create your own shortcode without any software, no FTP software, no code writing software. It's very basic of what I've shown here, but you can expand on that and you can write a paragraph, or you can do, there's a lot more that you can do, and it takes very little bit of knowledge to look up, HTML tags and stuff like that. Leave me a comment if there's something specific that you want me to show you, and I can even put it in a reply in the comments to show you how to write that. If there's something specific that you need on a page or in your shortcode. That's all I have for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thanks.